in Wisconsin because there's so much and so much culture and so much, just everything we'd ever want. We're very, very happy. So when we think about our jobs and where they lead us, sometimes it might be personal, sometimes it might be for a professional reason, right? And it's very nice to be here and not have people recognize me. Because I can go to Walmart with no makeup on and, I can scream at my kids in Walmart. I never used to be able to do that. Because then it was like, oh, the TV lady, man, she's not, But now I can go, get back here! And nobody cares, no one knows who I am, right? It's wonderful. So I went back I do workshops still in Iowa, quite frequently. I go back there. And I was going through the drive-thru, getting breakfast at downtown Hardee's in Waterloo, Iowa. Now keep in mind, you can only see this much of me, right? Because I'm going through the drive-thru. So I pull up to the window, I ordered my, breakfast of champions, whatever it was, something 800-calorie biscuit thing, I don't know. So I pull up, and the lady's like, I know you. And I never know what to say, because you don't want to be like, yeah, I was on TV. I mean, how's that sound? I'm full of myself. So she's like, yeah, I know you. And I was like, oh. And she goes, don't tell me. She goes, you're on TV. And, and I've been burned before, because sometimes I'll say, I used to anchor the news, and they'll say, no, that's not it. And I'm like, okay. Or they'll say, no, you shop at Festival. They think it's somewhere else. So she goes, don't tell me. And I'm like, okay. So she goes, on TV. And I go, and I just kind of, she goes, you're Dr. Phil's wife. And I sat there and I was like, I don't think I told her I wasn't, because I was so stunned that she said it was Dr. Phil's wife. Now, Dr. Phil's wife is like this, right? So I was like, And I drove up, and called my husband right away. I was laughing so hard I couldn't even see. And he's like, you need to go back there. She's going to think Dr. Phil's wife's in Waterloo, Iowa. And I said, no, I can't. I'm embarrassed. I want to go back and make her feel bad. So that's kind of funny. That's my claim to fame. I think you could just go tell everybody when you go home. You missed the morning keynote if they left early. It was Dr. Phil's wife. You would have loved her. Yeah, you had to leave early, but it was Dr. Phil's wife. So that's kind of funny. But what I'm going to do today, I want to take you guys through. If you have your little worksheet, if you bought the book, I'm uncertain how that all works. But there's a little sheet that says, I love my job, that I created. And you don't have to use it at all, but I'm just going to take you through it a little bit and kind of make you realize, I know it will make you realize how much you love your jobs. And I think it's a good way to send you off after you've been reignited this weekend, okay? The first question on there is, what do I get? What do I get for my job? Now, if you're keeping track or you're keeping score at home, you can give yourself a star for each one that you say is yes. Now this one, the first part of what do I get is, I have the materials and equipment I need to do my job right. I have the materials and equipment I need to do my job right. Think about it. Is there something that is holding you back from doing your job? Or is it that you really have everything you need to do your job? And it might just be, more patient care with your clients, and maybe you just need your hand and your mind, or your mind and your hands, whatever you need. Or you might be in a position where you need more material things. Think about that. Okay? The second one is, I know what is expected of me at work. Give yourself a star if you know what is expected of you at work. Now, you may be surprised how many people don't know, okay? And don't be afraid to ask the people who work for you if they do know. We talked yesterday about job descriptions and knowing what your role is in an organization. And of course, what does the fine print say, remember? And anything else assigned by the boss. But you need to have an idea. You don't ever want to get caught in a situation where you didn't know that was your role, or somebody didn't know. If you know what's expected of you at work, then you're walking into a situation you're already comfortable in. It would be like one of you getting called on right now, okay, did you know you have to do a workshop after this? No, I didn't know. No, I didn't know. Well, now you might be able to throw something together. You might, regurgitate something you've already heard. You could be totally fine. But just think if that was your job and you walked in and you didn't really know and you got something thrown at you. Or your employees didn't really know and they're like, okay, well, you have to go and do this. I do? I don't know. They might be fine. You might have all the faith in the world in them that they can do what you're telling them to do, but did they know? Did they know what was expected of them? Okay, what do I give? At work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day. At work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day. Now, this is important because a lot of people are people. They love working with people. They are wonderful with interpersonal relationships, and it's all about relationships. The world is about relationships. Then they do so well at that they get promoted to look over the people. And then they're not with the people anymore. Does that make sense? So now you have a people person who's pushing paper. Say that fast. People person pushing paper. So you have to be careful, okay? Was it more money? Yes, probably. Was it maybe a better schedule? Well, I don't know. More stress? Probably. So think about it. What is it? Or maybe you're good at everything, and so it doesn't matter. But if that's a struggle for you, and you've decided to not take that position, or not move up within the company, or not take over a leadership role, because you've done that self-reflection, and you know what? I'm really good at what I do now. There's nothing wrong with that, because you're going to be happier longer. So just make sure that you get a chance to do what you do best every day. This is the second one under number 2. In the last 7 days, I have received recognition or praise for doing good work. In the last 7 days, I have received recognition or praise for doing good work. Research shows now people need feedback almost weekly just to know that they're on the right track. You don't have to have the big sit-down evaluation, let's go through everything, but just something to let them know they're on the right track. Whether you stop by and you watch them for 30 seconds or something and say, hey, things look great here, or you're doing a good job. That's enough. That's really enough to carry people through. I recommend being more specific than that, saying what you do like about what they're doing, so that they really know what you like, and it's just not kind of off the cuff. Yeah, hey, you're doing a good job, and maybe they just were told by Ann Curie and they had to give someone a compliment today or something. You don't take it to heart. So try and make it specific if you can, okay? This is the third one under number 2. My supervisor or someone at work seems to care about me as a person. My supervisor or someone at work seems to care about me as a person. The reason people stay in their positions of work, they will tell you, is because they like their supervisor. The reason people leave their positions at work, they will tell you, is because they don't get along with their supervisor. So that's how much of an impact you have. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be your supervisor, but is there somebody at work who cares about you as a person? Now, in television, it just depended on where you were, which company was managing you, who was the boss. But there used to be this theory that they say, and you may have heard it in Wisconsin especially, they don't name the cows. Because if you name them, you're attached to them, and you gotta, right? So they used to say that about TV people, because there'd be so many changes. So they try not to get attached. So when you think about the environments you're in, why not be attached? I've heard people talk about their organizations as family, as taking care of each other. So why not be attached? Why not take good care of each other? All right. The fourth one there. There is someone at work who encourages my development. There is someone at work who encourages my development. And that might be just, hey, have you ever thought about getting your, CNA, or you see some young person who comes in and they're not sure what they want to do and they need some guidance, and you share that with them. Everybody has had a mentor at one time or another, would you say? Somebody kind of directed you? Be that for somebody else. Allow them to learn from you. The part that we get into trouble is when we don't want to share that. Then we kind of become that cancer in your workplace, when you're a know-it-all and you know everything, but yet you're not going to help anybody else, and you're just going to complain that nobody knows anything. Well, I'm the only one that knows how to do it. You don't know how to do it, I'll do it. Or, share it. Good karma to share that. All right, the next section. Anybody have all stars so far? Who's keeping score? Anyone? Okay, awesome. Do I belong? Okay. At work, my opinion seems to count. At work, my opinion seems to count. It's one of those things that hopefully you're saying when you have these meetings, or you're, just say, hey, what do you think? I remember the first time my boss asked me that, and I was just a young cub reporter, and I was like, whoa, does it really matter what I think? I don't know really what to think. But the fact that they asked what I thought, I think I just said, I think it's a good idea, because I was too nervous. I didn't have a better idea, but at least I was included. At least I felt like it did matter enough to ask. So think about that. Think about that. Here's a good one. The mission or purpose of my company makes me feel my job is important. The mission or purpose of my company makes me feel my job is important. How many of you know your mission statement? Will you share? Do you mind? What is it?
Help clients become as independent as possible in the working situation.
How about yours? Did you raise your hand?
Yeah, leadership, structure, and support.
Leadership, structure, and support. Anybody else? Those are good ones. How many of you didn't know you had a mission statement? How many of you don't? Do you think you don't? Anyone? Something to think about, because that's what it's really all about when it comes down to it. If you're someone who does not believe in the mission, vision, and values of your organization, nothing else is really going to matter. So think about that. If you don't have one, how exciting you can get one, right? Collaborate. Make one up. Steal theirs. What the heck? Good one. My associates or fellow employees are committed to doing quality work. My associates or fellow employees are committed to doing quality work. This is all part of you loving where you are. If you feel like you're on an island and nobody else is supporting you, or nobody else, gets it, or whatever you think, you might not give yourself a star for that one, but then you might need to think, what can I do to change it? Because we all feel that way. I mean, even at home sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm just going to have to do everything myself, or it's not going to get done right. Well, whose fault is that? It might be mine, right? I haven't told anybody else how I want it done. You don't fold those that way, or you don't do this, or whatever. Well, why don't I share my knowledge then, so I don't feel like I have to do everything? Or you don't cook it like that. I'm not a very good cook anyway, so. But it's just different things, like you have to think about, what can I do to change it? If this is something that I don't like about my job because I feel like I'm the only one that knows everything, and I have to do all the paperwork, and I have to be on call 24/7, then what can you do to change it? We were at a hockey tournament last weekend, and a pager went off, one of the guys, and he said, and he goes, gosh, I'm going to have to get up. I got to get back. I got to open at 4 or whatever. He owns some companies. And I said, 4 o'clock in the morning? Why do you have to do that? He goes, well, that's what happens when you're the owner. And I said, that's what happens when you don't teach anybody how to open for you. 4 o'clock in the morning? You got to be kidding me. And he just kind of looked at me like he'd never been told that before, and I'm sure he hadn't. And I'm sure he'd never hear that from one of his employees, but to me it was obvious. I'm like, what are you doing? Hire somebody, right? Driving a Lamborghini outside, can't you hire someone? Seriously. So think about it. What can you do? What can you do to make that change? I have a best friend at work, or a good friend at work. That's the last one under Do I Belong? I have a best friend or a good friend at work. Now, definition of friend, okay? Definition of friend is someone you share respect, someone that would have your back, Someone that if you're running late for a meeting and you know you're going to get crucified if you're not there on time, or you forgot to do something, or you forgot to punch your time card and put it away, or whatever the case may be, somebody that you trust that you can just make the call. Your phone a friend, right? Somebody that has your back and can be there. Because it's kind of scary to walk into a situation at work. And I found this, when you go and you start new jobs, as I moved around, as I explained, and you never know. You never know who's going to help you and who's going to not. And I took a news anchor's job, or a job that another woman wanted when I moved to Iowa. And I ended up sitting across from her. And I didn't know that, but everybody else knew that. Everybody else knew that this was the job she wanted, and here they hired me from Florida. So, what was I supposed to do? Turn down the job, right? You always get those conflicts, and then that person that didn't get the job wants everybody else mad at the person who's hired. And the person who's hired doesn't know anything about it. They're just taking a job. So I was sitting across from her, and I needed to find out where the notepads were. And I leaned over and I said, where do I go get the reporter notebooks? And she sat up and she goes, don't tell her. She needs to find things for herself and find out where things are. And I was like, and thank you. So I was like, okay, all right, that's how we're going to play this. Obviously, that's not going to be the person I'm going to call. And it doesn't take long to figure that kind of stuff out. I'm talking day one. Somebody comes and says, you're the new one. Yeah. Well, then you get to clean, and you get to unload the dishwasher, and I'm going to go over here. And ding, 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 not the person I'm going to call. Somebody else comes over. Oh, you're new here? Well, it's nice to meet you. Okay, well, do you have any questions? You know where I am. I'm going to be putting away the dishes. In fact, why don't you come with me, and I'll show you where everything is. Person to call, right? And we all are different depending on the situation. We all have different personalities who work with us. You might click better with the person that says, you do the dishes, because maybe that's how you are. Maybe you're like, all right, I like the person who tells me what to do. I'm going to get to know her, or whatever. Who knows? But just so there's somebody. Somebody's got your back. How can we grow? This is our last section. In the last 6 months, someone at work has talked to me about my progress. In the last 6 months, someone at work has talked to me about my progress. Now, this is more than, hey, great job, and walking by. This is more of, do you have 5 minutes? Can you come to my office? I'm going to put up a sign-up sheet outside my office for office hours. I need everybody here to fill a 5-minute slot. And you've done it within 6 months. Or you do it all in one day, or whatever works for you. And if you're that person who's sitting back going, nope, I've never had a review. Nobody's ever told me how I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just getting a paycheck. What can you do then? Go ask. Go ask. Don't, and I'm not trying to put this all on the supervisors, because it's not. It's a two-way street. If you're the person who doesn't get the feedback, and you're going to sit there and complain that you don't have any feedback, and you don't know what you're doing, and you don't know if this is the right job for you, and this or that, then go ask. As a supervisor, if someone came up to you and said, listen, can I have 5 minutes of your time? I want to make sure I'm prioritizing things the way you would like. I want to make sure I'm on right track. I just don't want to get too far into this new position, not knowing exactly what you want me to do. Wouldn't you be kind of like, wow, sure. Or you might, if you don't have time, say, hey, you know what, you're doing great right now, but let's set up an appointment. But it works two ways. We have to give that feedback. We have to let people know how they're doing. And if we're not getting it, we got to go find it. Because there's no sense wasting your time if you're not doing things correctly. Makes sense? This last year, I have had opportunities to learn and grow. This last year, I have had opportunities to learn and grow. Now, everybody should say yes, because you're here. This is a learning opportunity. This is something that your companies are helping you with or have afforded you the opportunity to come. Maybe they're not giving you open bars at night, but hey, you're still here, you're learning, kind of reigniting yourself, feeling better about your job. How many out there who kept track felt like you could say you got all stars? Anybody? In the back? Wonderful, wonderful. I did this workshop at Hawkeye Community Colleges where people from all different companies can come for lunch and learns. And there was a gal who did not have 1 star. So she said, I don't have any. And I said, well, what does that tell you? And she goes, I think I need a new job. I said, maybe, if you're not getting to do what you love to do every day, you don't have support, you don't have feedback, you don't really know where you're going, you don't really know if you're appreciated. You're assigned to do things that you can't do because you don't have any way to do them, whatever the case may be. But I don't think that's the case with this group. I think you all are where you're supposed to be, or you wouldn't even be here today. You would have found a reason to get out of this, right? You would have said, you know what, oh, that weekend, can't go, sorry, no way. Well, no, we'll pay for you or whatever, I don't know if they chip it. No, I've got somebody's wedding, somebody's funeral, somebody's something, right? So I hope you all believe that you are where you need to be, because you're very, very special to making the world go around and helping those people who cannot help themselves. And not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the patience for that. Not everybody has the personality for that. And not everybody else is willing to oftentimes, put somebody else ahead of themselves. A lot of self-absorbed people in the world who would never do what you all do. So I hope you feel better. I hope you've enjoyed your time here. The one thing I will leave you with today, and you may have heard it, especially if you watch Kung Fu Panda, it came on that movie. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift, and that's why they call it the present.